about movies, games, wrestling, and whatever else they can come up with on a whim. You're listening to the Slackercast.
What is up, everybody? Here at you with another episode of the Slackercast. I am Greg, and joining me today with technical difficulties is my co-host Lawrence.
What's going on, guys?
Also, my longtime friend Corey, the host of the S'mores Indoors podcast.
What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing tonight?
Yo.
And this guy I found on the side of the road one day. I like to call him Dustin. He calls himself Slim Dust.
What's up?
All right, so Lawrence, you decided that you wanted to have a all Star Wars episode.
I did. We see that Dustin's prepared with the great backdrop, Baby Yoda.
I see that. Impressive.
I didn't have a Star Wars shirt available, so I'm kind of odd man out. I got no Star Wars stuff to display. But
I see you're still in prison.
No, I got paroled, man. Dustin even said it on the last one. I got lighting now, so it's not as bleak.
Oh, so you're at the halfway house now?
I'm at the halfway house, man. Almost there.
Sounds good. So I feel like you owe me 6 hours of my life back. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh, man. Go ahead and tell them why. Why do I owe you 6 hours of your life back?
Because you insisted that I rewatch this sequel trilogy. And I skipped the first one, The Force Awakens, because I've already seen it multiple times. But I did rewatch Rise of the Jedi, or what is it? Why is it I don't even know what it's called anymore.
It's The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, yeah, whatever. And then Rise of Skywalker, yeah. But I don't know. It's horrible. I can't even remember the names. But so you want to jump right into this, or?
Well, I mean, it's been some years. The dust has settled now.
Well, I mean, we didn't get to discuss it since the podcast went away for a while when those movies came out, and that was one of our big things
about the hype and the mystique, so we can kind of see what we all think of it now. Now that some time has been able to go by. So you want to start us off, Greg?
Well, I mean, when Force Awakens first came out, I'm not gonna lie, I saw the movie. I was like hyped after I came out of it. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. Star Wars is back." It's like I was hopeful.
I don't think it was just hopeful, man. It was like a phenomenon. It was like you had priests crying over videos of this. There was like a guy that made a video of the trailer, and he was like weeping at the thought of seeing an X-wing flying across the screen.
Did you say that there were priests crying?
Force Awakens coming out was like a phenomenon. There was like a YouTube video of like a priest, an ordained like priest, and he was watching.
Did the Virgin Mary statue like bleed blood too? All that good stuff.
Probably. When Force Awakens was released, man, the trailer for that alone was like mind blowing. I remember the amount of anticipation for this was just you'd have to go back to remember, but at the time it was just like there was nothing like it.
How did you like the Force Awakens?
Force Awakens I remember watching it and then walking out of the theater and being like, it was okay. It wasn't like great, but it wasn't bad. I liked it. It was like when you watch a movie like Transformers or something like that, it kind of gave me that feeling of, this is all right. I had a good time, but then you forget about it the next day. You're kind of like, oh. So the more and more time went on, probably, I think sooner than that, but it wasn't bad. Yeah, Force Awakens was okay.
I liked it initially. after rewatching it later, I was kind of, like, maybe they can still do something with this, because it was the big mystery who's Rey's parents, and
No, I remember you, Greg, and you were basically like, you had all these theories, man. You loved Force Awakens when it first came out. You loved Rey. You loved
I don't know if
everything
did
you
I
saw.
did I love it.
You had a lot of hope for the future. It was a good starting point. That's what I'll give it.
What about you, Dustin?
I actually didn't like The Force Awakens that much, and I thought it was a copy and paste of A New Hope, basically, with just different characters. They pretty much copied the movie, and
Some of the same.
I thought a lot of it was very similar to A New Hope to me. So, I mean, I loved Rey, and I loved that I got to bring my daughter into the Star Wars universe. That was the big thing for me, was just introducing her to this was her introduction to Star Wars. And so, I mean, I liked the movie, but I just thought, oh, they just redid A New Hope with different characters.
Yeah, your starting point should have just been A New Hope. I think that would have been anyone's great starting point to Star Wars.
What about you, Corey? How do you feel about The Force Awakens when you first saw it?
Well, I agree with what Lawrence was saying. There was a lot of hype going in, and not for obvious reasons. As bad as those prequels were, there was still that nostalgia for Star Wars at the time. But I'm kind of like Dustin. It was a lot of rehash of A New Hope. For some reason, Harrison Ford has this plan to kill himself in every movie now. I don't know what that dude's deal is, but he wants to die. He wants to kill off every big character he's had. I'm sure if they do this new Indiana Jones is going to die in it. But that being said, going back now, I don't want to jump too far forward because I know you want to go through each one, but to me, that's probably the best one of the three. Looking back now.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that.
Well, you said something interesting there. You said how horrible the prequels were.
They look better now in hindsight, I think.
Exactly. That's what
I will agree with you, though, Greg, about the potential. There was a lot of potential at the end of the movie, for it to go, but in a direction. But I'll be like Corey and just wait till we get to the second movie, because I have a lot of opinions about the second movie.
See, after I got over myself marking out just because Star Wars was back, I thought more about what Lawrence said, and they didn't really bring anything new to it like the prequels did.
Yeah.
And even in the first movie, I mean, it was just a rehash of The New Hope. It's hey, we're gonna redo this just with a few different people, and everyone will love it because of that.
They lost me when they brought back Death Stars. I was I'm confused. What was the point of
the Star Killer base? Was just a rehash of the Death Star. It was
it can kill multiple planets, and I'm where did they get this technology? They didn't have the funding.
It was really late. It was just lazy writing to me.
Oh God, man!
Especially when you have opportunity to go in a whole different direction, and then I'll wait for the second movie.
So coming out of The Force Awakens, we can all pretty much say that we at least, thought we were at least interested to see where this is going. Be okay, this could be something.
Yeah, I'll say I was excited to actually. I didn't get to go to the theater to see Force Awakens, but I was excited to go see Last Jedi when it came out. After watching The Force Awakens,
the fact that we all all right, well, let's move into The Last Jedi.
This is going to be the good one.
This is the great one.
I just rewatched this yesterday, and I don't know if there's anything I like about this movie.
The scene in the desert's pretty cool. The red sand.
No, what I'll say about Last Jedi, honestly, is that this was very hostily just kind of against the fandom in a way that I've never seen anything do. Not even Ghostbusters could accomplish this. This specifically knew what the fans wanted and went the opposite direction of anything Star Wars related. I'm not sure why they went this route. If it had to do with Rian Johnson, I know that he is a type of director, he does Looper, kind of experimental stuff. Brick was this kind of debut film, which is a film noir set in high school, and he's very kind of experimental. he likes to go against the grain. But that's not who you pick to direct Star Wars. You get somebody that's like into geek culture that knows the ins and outs of something like Star Wars, and has an appreciation.
I think that he was trying. He had good intentions, maybe, and he was trying to like get away from how the Force Awakens was a rehash of New Hope and do an original, some kind of an original storyline. But the movie is all over the place. There's so many plot holes and just it's really all over the place. And they ruin John Boyega's character, and
he never recovered.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I like about that movie really is the ending scene. I don't really have a problem with the whole Luke stuff like everybody else does. I think I didn't have a problem with his arc, but really the only cool thing about that movie was the ending fight scene in the desert.
Well, I have multiple problems with it, and I was actually taking notes as I was watching this movie. I would literally pause and be like,
Take notes.
I had to, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember all this. But one of the things I wrote down is I said, the Luke and Kylo Ren story doesn't make sense. Luke almost killed him. I was like,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense with Luke's character. So all of a sudden, Luke, who had already been tempted by the dark side before, is going to see darkness in Kylo Ren, and his answer to all of this is, I'm not going to, see if I can undo this. I'm going to have a moment of weakness and maybe kill him.
Well, they make a lot of beloved characters look like pricks in that movie. Like Poe was a pretty loved character after the first movie, and this one he's like a belligerent prick that disobeys orders and shit like that.
Yeah,
like he's like a totally different person.
And actually, we didn't mention this about the first movie. The Han Solo death in the first movie. Did y'all think that was even necessary, or should they just never even brought him in?
And as someone whose favorite character in Star Wars is Han Solo, I would say that disappointed me that he died in the first movie.
Well, I bring it up because they focused quite a bit on that in this movie, in The Last Jedi. Because, that's what's tormenting Kylo Ren for the majority of the movie is, he keeps thinking back on it and trying to say that he didn't regret it, but he does. And
the lamest part of that movie, though, is when Leia flies back into the ship.
Well, I had that the Luke and Kylo Ren storyline did make sense to me. I also put, because when they're on the island with Luke, you have things to say about that, Lawrence. I know for sure.
I know. Corey, it sounded like you had something going on there.
Well, I was just going to say, I've always had this analogy for this movie, and it's, the ending of Force Awakens, like the fans are left with their jaws open, they see Luke there standing on the mountain or whatever the hell.
Yes.
The very beginning of Last Jedi, they just basically take a shit in those fans' open mouths when he just takes a lightsaber and flings it over. The whole scene was pointless at the end of the first movie.
Yeah, it was like J.J. Abrams left and Rian Johnson came in and said, "What is all this shit he did? Let me go ahead and undo this," because it was building up to something great, and then he completely just subverted all that. All that momentum went downhill, and it never recovered after The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know about y'all, but the one thing that I know that I've always wanted to see Luke Skywalker do is milk some big giant thing with 6 tits and then drink it immediately afterwards.
Yeah, what was that, 5-10 minutes into the movie? I knew as soon as I saw that, I'm like, wow, this movie's fucked.
He was raggedy. His nails were... Go ahead.
There was so much that happened on the island. It did make sense to me. Whenever Yoda destroys the tree with the Jedi text and stuff, when Luke is questioning everything, basically, I'm like, that's so uncharacteristic as Yoda. All of a sudden, Yoda doesn't care about traditions. He's like, oh well, fuck traditions. We're gonna just start new. Isn't that what he tried to protect so much in the prequel trilogy? Was the traditions?
But maybe because of Anakin's turn, he's changed his perspective on things. Because the traditions is kind of what pushed Anakin to the dark side, in a way.
Yeah, but I mean, then he trained Luke, so.
Yeah, then he did that, and he was all about traditions.
I get the arcs. I don't think they were done well, but I don't have a problem with the arcs like everybody else does. I can understand. And plus,
being somebody
Luke Skywalker is not that beloved of a character to me. So,
blasphemy.
See, there you go, right there, blasphemy. The reason why Luke is up there. Yeah, Luke is up there with like Santa Claus and Superman. There's some characters that you
Superman
can't change.
is lame too.
They may be lame. Okay, I'll give you that. But there's some things that you just can't change. Otherwise, they stop being that character. Like Luke has to be that optimistic, guy that's always ready to go into battle, always ready to be the one.
Look at everything that happened to him up until that point, though. Not everybody can stay optimistic through everything. So that's why I say the arc makes sense. Do I think it was done well? No, but it makes sense.
But why would you give? That's like you can give an arc to Santa Claus and say why he would stop giving presents to kids, but it's like we like Santa Claus doing Santa Claus things. Like that's what makes him Santa is the fact that he delivers presents. Like
exactly.
Luke has rules that you can't really bend, otherwise it's no longer Luke. I mean, you can have an arc for him, but once you do that, it's just unnecessary because he's such a great character on his own. His character, what he does and what he believes in, makes him that character. No one cares about anything else he does, as long as he can stay like we remembered him in.
Because I mean, he went from being the whiny kid on Tatooine to the Jedi Knight,
back to being the whiny little old man hermit.
Well, first off, that wasn't the real Luke Skywalker. We all know this.
Was it or was it not?
It wasn't, and we'll get into that later. We'll get into why later. But I also wrote down as like 2/3 of this movie was a fucking chase movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of gas.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch a movie about someone chasing down a fucking ship for 2/3 of it and keep commenting on, oh, they're getting low fuel. Just keep firing.
Well, that's what I was saying about it. It's so all over the place. Like they just try to go in so many different directions that it just ruins the whole movie.
Yeah, and was the casino scene needed? Like,
no.
It's like from a whole different movie.
The feeling I got watching these movies, like especially The Last Jedi, was like, this doesn't even feel like a Star Wars movie. Like nothing about it felt Star Wars to me.
Yeah, I want to point out something. We forgot the most important part of Last Jedi, which was Rose Tico. I mean, how can we forget such a priceless character? George Lucas, and this is what was missing, is George Lucas's mind and his
That's
touch.
what was missing from this whole thing.
He would never, he would have, if he would have introduced like these female characters, and I totally understand, Haldo and Tico. There's Admiral Haldo and there's Rose Tico. He would have gave them like a jetpack or some type of sword or gun or something that made them cool, like something to sell, like a toy, like any kind of kid would want. Rose Tico comes in with this yellow jumpsuit, nothing else. You have this purple haired lady. Like, no kid sitting back like, man, I totally want that. This is so cool. Like, look at Admiral Akbar. He's a giant fish squid thing. Every kid sat back looking at that and saying, wow, man, that's so cool to look at visually. And there's just no nerdness to The Last Jedi. There's nothing there that's like, wow, just mind blowing, like a Boba Fett or a General Grievous. Think of the prequels. As bad as they might have been, they
had Captain Phasma.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, you like Phasma?
A silver stormtrooper. That's what we got. But there was nothing like Darth Maul. Just all these different cool-looking characters, man, that were just visually impressive. Like I didn't see that in Last Jedi at all. It like did away with that concept.
Well, you remember, like I was big on Kylo Ren. Like after the first movie, I made such a point about this. I was like, he needs to put that fucking helmet on and never take it back off to show like shame of his scar, because it's like a constant reminder of him getting beat by Rey. I thought that was a good idea myself, but they have to show Adam Driver's beautiful face over and over again.
Half this movie he didn't have a shirt on, didn't he?
Yeah, no, that was only one scene, I think.
It's the best
with
scene,
his weird square chest.
He worked really hard.
It was kind of weird.
He has no body. He had no body shape. He's just square. But I think he's like 6'9" or something. He's a big dude. So
he's a Hoosier, isn't he, Greg? He's from your neck of the woods,
Yeah,
Indiana.
I think so.
Makes
he was
me
actually
proud.
a Marine before he was an actor.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, he should have more than a square chest then.
Hey, when you get out the military, you just let yourself go, man. Too much upkeep.
I also wrote down in here. I said, like, during the scene, whenever Rey and Kylo Ren, why couldn't I think of his name? When they kill Snoke, big spoiler there, right? So Snoke, they build him up from the first movie. We think he's going to be some kind of big character, and then they just
Kill him.
give us no backstory on him whatsoever, and
Who
just
he is
fucking
or
kill him.
anything about him. That was like so aggravating to me.
So here's this guy. You're wondering about him, but we're not going to tell you anything about him. He has red guards. Well, we'll let you know that. It's Emperor-like.
Yeah, that's how it's back to what I was saying. Like, they knew what we wanted. That's why this is hostile, man. This is why this is different than just a bad film. This is why it gets the hate it gets. It's because Last Jedi went out of its way to take away everything the fans wanted and to subvert expectations just because they could. Just because they knew what we wanted, they thought it was funny, is what they thought. And that's why we got this.
I don't think they did it on purpose. I think that they should have had people more Star Wars oriented involved in the movie than this Rian Johnson guy who we've never heard of, never had anything to do with the movies. Like, they should have brought in Filoni or somebody to drive it in that
Kevin Feige
direction. Somebody, but not some. But I think they wanted to like try and take it in this new direction, but they just went to the like extreme opposite. But I don't feel like it was intentional. I feel like they just didn't know.
Okay, I'm gonna load up a picture here. This is something that Lawrence showed me, and he basically said,
porn.
I promise you, it's not gonna be porn. But you commented on this many times, and you said because you have not very much like for Kathleen Kennedy and what she's done to the Star Wars movies per se. And you once showed me this picture and asked me, he's like, does these people look like Star Wars fans to you? And hold on, I'm gonna pull it up right quick here. And I had to agree with you. No, these people do not look. I would not call these people Star Wars fans at all. That does not look like your average Star Wars fan.
Well, the one on the far right has glasses on, so maybe, but the other ones no.
But that's like, the new fold, though. These are the kids these days. That's what they look like. They're, and it's not as it's being nerdy is cool now. So, like, my daughter looks like those girls in those pictures.
I would bet you anything if you quizzed all those women on Star Wars, and none of them would know half of what's going on anything prior than that trilogy.
Let me ask you this: do those look like the type of people that have Star Wars themed weddings, sit on concrete to meet George Lucas for like 17 hours at a convention? Like, I don't know, man. There was a certain nerdness that George brought that was unapologetically like, I'm doing this because this is just something a geek would think about. These are stories that only a kid sitting in the back of a classroom drawing ligers in a notebook would come up with. Like Napoleon
Ligers.
Like so
But see, this is part of what I don't like about the Star Wars fan base is the gatekeeping, and everybody thinks that you have to be a nerd to like Star Wars, and look at what The Mandalorian has done. The Mandalorian has brought in all types of people now. Like, even my mom and dad binge watched The Mandalorian in like a month. They don't even like Star Wars.
You may not have to be a nerd to like Star Wars, but you should at least be a nerd to create it. And George Lucas was a nerd.
That's what I was saying about bringing Rian Johnson. They should have brought in They went in a totally opposite direction. They didn't bring in Star Wars people. They should have brought in Star Wars people, real, actual fans.
So
Yeah,
so
back
another
to the
thing I said.
Mandalorian though. Yeah, but
Go ahead, Lawrence.
Mandalorian brought in a lot of those elements that George originally wanted, like Favreau. He collaborated with George. He understood. John Favreau and Filoni understood a lot of George's vision, a lot of what made stuff cool. Like Bo-Katan, all those guys are cool as shit. Like the armor and the lasers and all the stuff that they have. Ahsoka Tano, classic character. Those are Star Wars-esque characters. Rose
And
Tico
let's
is
not forget. I don't mean to cut you off, but let's not forget. Everybody hated the prequels when they came out. A lot of people hated.
I didn't.
I didn't either, but a lot of people hated them, and now everybody loves them. And a lot of reason why people love them is because of the Clone Wars and everything else that was done after the prequels. People went back and developed a new appreciation for the prequels.
Yeah,
and that was because of Dave Filoni.
My favorite Star
definitely.
Wars movie is one of the prequels.
Yeah, me too.
Mine too.
I'd
Which
say-
one is your? Is it Revenge of the Sith?
Yes, I love
Yes.
Revenge.
Revenge of the
I think
Sith
that's
is a
the best
classic,
Star Wars
dude.
movie there.
Yeah, that's my second favorite. That's the first Star Wars film I saw in theaters, and I was completely blown away by that movie.
But one of the issues, and this kind of goes along with the photo you showed, Greg, is that we haven't really touched on is the forced feminist aspect of this movie.
Yeah,
At which I want to say this: I have no issues with equal everything for women, but when it's forced like that, like the Ghostbusters remake, if you weren't a fan of that idea, then you were anti-feminist or whatever, and it's the same type of thing in this movie.
and I'm glad you brought that up, Corey, because I was going to address that and say, I liked Rey as the hero. I was fine with her as being
Rey
the
is
new hero of
perfect,
Star
yeah.
Wars, being the face of Star Wars. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is fresh. This is new. She's a likable character. But it's like the writing just wasn't there.
You know what it was? I was reading an article back when this was all coming out. Last Jedi came out. The actual writers were coming up with a story for Force Awakens. Luke was supposed to be in there a lot more than he was, but the writers kept coming back to the same problem. If you put Rey next to Luke Skywalker or any character, they get diminished because of the myth of Luke. He's just too big a character for her to grow on her own.
Except for Dustin.
Well, my suggestion would have been to leave out the old cast and just make it about these new characters and focus on them, because they're pretty good, like a strong cast. Like Finn, like you mentioned before, Finn was cool in Force Awakens. Poe was cool, just like Corey said. Poe had a great storyline in Force Awakens. If you would have focused on them instead of worrying about the old trilogy or the originals and all that stuff, and focused on making Rey her own person and the writing, you would have had a good solid trilogy. You wouldn't have had to worry. But they kept wanting to have both their cake and eat it too. They want the originals, and they wanted to build their own people, but they couldn't do both.
So, safe to say that none of us really liked anything about The Last Jedi?
That's my least favorite movie of all 10.
It might be my least
There
favorite
was some
movie of
cool
all time.
scenes, like when Rey and Kylo take on the Red Guard, and
See, I had a
the
problem with
scenes
that.
in the desert.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dustin, because I had a problem with that scene. My problem with that scene is those guards were putting up way too much of a fight to the two baddest people in the galaxy.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but I mean, they have to make it cool, because if they just killed them all quickly, then they would be lame.
Not really treat them like droids. Look how easy they kill droids.
Yeah.
Well, you got Snoke sitting there like Hugh Hefner in his damn
And his white jacket.
The only thing that was missing was him pulling Daisy Ridley close and patting her or something.
Yeah.
But all right, so we'll move on to Return of Skywalker. Or Rise of Skywalker.
Return of Skywalker.
That's what I got it written down as. I haven't written this Return of Skywalker. But I just watched this movie again today, and
Same
parts of it work for me, parts of it don't. Like the beginning, the way it opens up is fine, but once you get pretty close in, when she accidentally kills Chewie, is when the whole movie just starts to fall apart for me. I don't like the whole mind link thing between her and Kylo. I haven't liked that since the second movie when they introduced it, but I thought it was stupid.
I'll be honest, like this movie I've seen one time. Don't really need to see it again. It was fine for what it was. I remember nothing about it. All I know is that it was better than The Last Jedi.
Well, like here's some of the things that like they did in this third movie. Like, for one, they made stormtroopers way too cool. Like, stormtroopers now have jetpacks and shit. They have all these cool weapons. I'm like, they took everything that's cool about a bounty hunter and just threw it on a fucking stormtrooper. And stormtroopers are supposed to be basic, man. They're not supposed to have all this cool shit.
Touching on something Corey had said about the force diversity stuff, one of the things that's weird is like the Empire is now like equal opportunity everything. Like the Empire is supposed to be Nazis, like they're space Nazis, like they're your worst principles.
Yeah, they even dress like Nazis.
And it's like they range from all ages. It seems like some guy looked like a male model from like Brazil. I'm like, I mean, they look good. They're supposed to be cranky old men with British accents who are pissed about everything. There's no love in the Empire. There's no anything except like being old and being decrepit and messing up stuff and being kind of uppity and stuck up. But I don't know. I just don't feel the threat from this Empire. There's none of the classic like comeuppance for them in the way that there used to be.
So, like, my biggest issue with the whole scene, I'm touching on this again, where Rey thinks she kills Chewie in that spaceship when they captured him or whatever, is literally 30 seconds later after this scene. It's like, oh, by the way, Chewie's still alive. It's like, you can't even like, keep it going, make us think he's actually dead for about a half an hour into the movie before you reveal 30 seconds later he's not dead. It's like, so what was the point of even making us think that he was dead if you're going to reveal it that he wasn't that soon?
Yeah.
I have no answers.
So this is my take on the third movie, is that the second movie...
Are you ready for the third movie?
So awesome. And everybody hated it so much that all they did was fan service the fuck out of the third movie. It was the entire movie was just fan service. Like, please don't leave us. Come back to Star Wars. We'll give you everything you guys want now. And I like the third movie. Like Corey said, I've only seen it twice. I've only watched it twice, and it's definitely low ranking for me. But they go from Force Awakens, which is a rehash, then they go in the completely opposite direction, and then they fly back and just try to bring all the fans back.
Let's save this.
Well, look who's directing it. It's J.J. Abrams, who he did with Star Trek. What he does with most of the stuff he touches, it's just rehashes or Spielberg wannabe stuff, or discount just what he watched in the 80s or what he grew up with. But it's nothing original or fresh in a lot of ways.
And the third movie it makes the second movie completely irrelevant. Like, you could watch Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker and get what's going on. You don't need the second movie. Like, they made the second movie completely irrelevant.
Yes, they really did. And I have a question for y'all. Why the fuck was Vader's helmet so mangled? Like, what happened to it?
It blew up on the Death Star, didn't it?
No, they burnt it in return. They gave him a funeral where they burnt his body. Or they burnt, with the suit on, which is weird. I don't know why he would put his head back in the mask and then burn it.
But I mean, it looked like it had been like fucking caved in and shit. So I'm like, I think it just
burnt. It's melted.
Like, it looked like Superman punched him in the face.
Well, I wanted to say what kind of what Dustin was saying, that there was a ton of fan service in this. I guarantee that J.J. Abrams had been given a memo to do shit like that because, hey, we're going to have this Disney Plus thing, and we're going to have some Star Wars shows on there. We're going to need our audience back for that stuff. So,
because they released Solo, which was also not very good.
Oh no,
Yeah.
there's no very to it. That movie was shit. It was
It lost
100%
money.
shit.
Like I didn't even go to the theaters and watch that. And Han Solo is my favorite Star Wars character, but I just didn't. I had no interest in
You know
watching
why
that
you
movie.
didn't care, Dustin? It was because it's not Harrison Ford. Like,
Yeah,
we like
I mean,
Exactly.
I thought that from the get go when they even announced that they were gonna do a young Solo story. Like I don't care if it's not Harrison Ford, Han Solo. I don't want.
They
to
could
see
have
I
at
will-
least had Harrison voice and narrate and be like, "This was me in my old days, guys," kind of handing it off the torch. He didn't even have
Shit.
that respect for the character.
He didn't want to
They-
be involved with that piece of shit.
I know.
They did do one thing in Rise of Skywalker that I did like though. I like that they brought back the old Death Star, how we got to see the remains of it. I did love that.
Oh, the ruins.
Yes, I thought that was cool.
But that was fan service. That's
Yeah.
all that was.
Yeah.
That was to
He
make
did
you.
this-
That was to make you go have that reaction that you just said you had.
I did like it though. I just hated the lightsaber battle that took place on it because I thought it was the worst lightsaber battle ever.
Oh man, people complain about Obi-Wan versus Anakin, but that was miles better than anything in the sequel.
That's
trilogy.
like one of the lightsaber
Yeah, that's one of the
battles
best
in the
ones.
prequels are hands
Yes.
down the best. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've watched all the movies over again, and hands down, those are the best lightsaber battles. Anyone that
Definitely.
doesn't think that is an idiot.
So did anyone like the Kylo Ren redemption angle that they did in this movie? I mean, we all saw it coming, but
By that
Anything else,
movie, I was so over that character. Which is sad because it was a good character in the first one, but by then
Well, he's your
he
typical
was so
Skywalker.
he was so emo bitch like that I didn't care.
oh, but the big reveal in this movie is that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter.
Which makes her a
Yay.
Skywalker too. So
Does it?
Yeah, well, explain that one. Hold on.
Yeah,
So they makes her a Skywalker too.
because Anakin's father is Emperor Palpatine.
No.
Is this expanded
Yes.
or?
His mother was immaculately conceived by the Emperor.
So like he put.
He's
I
a
don't know.
Skywalker. Anakin,
I do remember hearing something about that. actually.
I've heard that, but I didn't know if that was canon or.
I don't think it's
expanded
actually
or-
canon.
I
that
think
was,
it is.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought up canon because, in my opinion, the sequel trilogy, none of it is fucking canon. I don't even consider it Star Wars. When I talk about Star Wars to people, I'm like, you got the prequel trilogy, then you got the original, then you got the Clone Wars, even the animated ones, then you got the Mandalorian. This shit, toss it away somewhere. It doesn't count.
But because I don't think you can do that though.
Oh, I can
You
do
can't.
it.
I mean, you could do it in your own opinion, but you can't really say that it's not canon because there's too much of the original Star Wars and shit in it for it to not be canon.
Is
You just
there
have to-
really though?
Is it trash? Yeah, it's trash, but it's still Star Wars and it's still canon. You're just gonna have to accept it because they're probably about to do another trilogy that plays off of that trilogy, or
Well,
they're
Lawrence,
gonna do one.
We've talked
between it.
about this, man. Like, there's no sign in these movies of George Lucas at all. Like, in the prequel trilogy,
No,
he brought
not
in
at
new
all.
vehicles, new races. Everything was new. He brought in
when he
all
brought in
kinds
a
of
new
stuff.
race, by the way, when he brought in a new alien race, it was thought out, dude. There was imagination behind it. It wasn't like this where they give you something that just like someone looked at a frog and said, "Okay, frog monster man." Like there's none of that pop to it like he did in the originals, or he did in like the Jawas. Who would have thought to make a Jawa like that with the glowing eyes and the robes and little men selling droids? Like that's something that comes from someplace.
Yeah, and they're just they were just scavengers. I mean, like, it was just a side character that you don't look that far into, but they're just cool because they're there.
Well, they put
that's-
a yellow jumpsuit on a girl. Isn't that
Yeah,
original?
they did.
Yeah, they put purple hair on somebody.
They put
I
a
think.
blob in a Hugh Hefner smoking jacket.
God.
Man, and the thing is with the Disney, even whenever they teased something they were doing revolutionary or progressive, like they were teasing they were gonna have the first lesbian couple or something. You saw like 1 second of it, or Finn and Poe being a couple. I would have dared Disney to be that risky and to do something like that. I would actually appreciate it only because It would have showed some type of stepping out of the factory, kind of not, something that had imagination or risk in it. George Lucas took risks. His stuff may not have paid off. Like Jar Jar Binks was a huge risk. He didn't know how to be funny like that, but he took a chance. It backfired. He learned from it, and it felt like Star Wars. This has no risk taking in it whatsoever. None of the kind of things that were in the prequels or the originals. It's its own factory made, whatever you want to call it.
It's just another lazy Hollywood thing. That they do now.
You're right. It's definitely a thing.
It's not bad.
And like I think that's why people like the superhero movies so much, is because they're not that they're different, but they're not. I mean, everything else is a freaking remake. Like Kong versus Godzilla, Mortal Kombat, like everything coming out is like.
Oh, we'll talk about Mortal Kombat sometime. Don't worry.
Like, just Jesus Christ. But I think The Mandalorian has redeemed Disney and Star Wars, and there's a possibility that, we could get some real good Star Wars shit coming up.
I mean, The Mandalorian is good. It feels like old Star Wars. I'm
excited. I'm excited to see this Obi-Wan series. Sounds cool as shit, and
the Book of Boba. Don't forget that.
And that.
The Book of Boba?
Yeah. They teased that at the end of season.
They teased that at the end of Mandalorian. You must not have watched the end credits scene.
Is that the shit? Is that the shit in your tea?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the Book of Boba. Oh, they're going to teach me how to finally find this stuff and put it in my bubble tea.
They're going to release that before they release the third season of Mandalorian.
I'm just happy I'm going to finally know how this Boba shit is made. I'm excited about it.
I just want to know how he got out of the Sarlacc pit. That's all I want to know.
If you guys had to rank your top 3 Star Wars movies, how would you go?
See, it used to for me, it's still really hard for me to put Revenge of the Sith above Empire, but I do now because I love everything about Revenge of the Sith. So I'd have to go with that one first, Empire Strikes Back second, and probably A New Hope as my third.
I go like this order. I always went with New Hope was my favorite, hands down, of the Star Wars ones, only because you don't need to continue. Like, they stopped making Star Wars after that one. It completes itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you understand enough about the Force. The Empire, from what we understand, has been destroyed because we didn't know that they were outside of anything other than that base. So for me, it's a complete movie. The second one I give to Revenge of the Sith, because it completes the trilogy in a way that's like poetic and, all that other good stuff, and just great battles, great visuals. And my third is Return of the Jedi, because it has the Vader Luke battle that just completes the original. It's hard to top that fight.
They did though with that edited YouTube. Or no, that was the Obi-Wan and Vader fight, the extended.
Oh, scene 38 or something like that.
Which was incredible, by the way. They should just splice that in. Just leave it in from now on.
Mine would probably be Revenge of the Sith, and then Return of the Jedi, and then probably Attack of the Clones.
Whoa, I've never seen someone put Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, me neither. That's interesting.
I love the prequel movies. Like, I love the original movies, of course, but I love the prequel movies. I've always liked them, and I rewatched them again after me and my daughter watched The Mandalorian. I was like, it's time for you to watch the prequels, and we watched the prequels again, and so maybe it's just because I've had just watch them or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But I love the prequels, man. I don't really like Phantom Menace that much, but I love the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith are definitely up there for me.
Well, don't worry, because I got a shocker in my top 3 too. So my top one is A New Hope, just because that was my childhood. I watched that one so much. Then Empire Strikes Back, and then my third place for me now is Rogue One.
Really?
Oh, I thought we were going episodes.
You went non-episodic.
No,
I
just
like Rogue One a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good movie.
See, I don't deny that Rogue One was a good movie. It was a good movie, but I just don't remember anybody from it. I can't remember anyone's name from
You
that
don't remember
movie.
Director Krennic?
Because they all die. Big spoiler.
Yeah.
Because like there was a lot of cool characters in Rogue One. They just, I don't know
I
if
don't
they
remember
just
the
didn't
robot
say their
name.
names enough or what. But I just couldn't remember any of them.
Yeah, that's.
It's a great choice.
I think it's
though.
well worth watching again, though, if you haven't seen it for a while. And
Yeah,
I'm bad. I'm bad with the names too. So,
Greg, that's when I told you. I was like, this is better than A Force Awakens. Like, this
I
is
do
a
need
good
to
movie.
rewatch that.
Yeah,
Actually,
Rogue
I
One
haven't.
was actually really good.
And it proves that Star Wars can be cool without lightsabers.
yeah.
No, the Darth Vader scene though, that was
Which
the
has
thing that
always
made
been
it.
an unpopular opinion that I've had, is that Star Wars can be cool without lightsabers.
You're wrong. You're
Wrong.
100% wrong.
So wrong. Rogue One is good because of that Vader scene in the hallway, which was just like, I remember when it happened.
No, the Rogue One is good because of the whole fucking story.
Yeah.
That scene at the end is literally like 3 minutes, just like the scene at the end of Mandalorian that had fucking fanboys crying over fucking Luke Skywalker showing up. Like,
That was okay, man. I didn't.
What did y'all? How did y'all like the? I guess I don't know. We can't even call it hologram Luke. I guess force projected Luke.
it was a CGI Luke, is what it was.
Yeah.
Like kind of like that awful Terminator movie that brought the Terminator back. The old
Yeah,
one. Remember that,
Schwarzenegger.
Greg?
I
They brought
actually
that
liked it. Though,
CGI
I'm not gonna lie.
That was a Terminator Sega Genesis, I think.
Yeah.
Sega Genesis.
Starring Kenny Omega.
We always called
I
it
always knew
Terminator
it was gonna be Luke
Genesis.
that came and got Grogu. I just had a feeling the whole time. I just didn't know how they were going to pull it off. But they definitely did a great job pulling it off.
What do you think they're gonna do with this whole? Like, where do they go from here on the Mandalorian with Grogu? Considering he's with Luke now, because they're obviously not gonna show Luke in CG a lot, because they don't want to give too much of something that everyone loves.
This is what I've heard, is that they're going to introduce a young Luke in the Obi-Wan series, and that they're going to use the young Luke as the Luke for the new Mandalorian, possibly.
So this Obi-Wan it's going to be a series and not just like a standalone movie.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I think it's 6 episodes, which I know you guys don't really like the Marvel stuff, but I really like what they've done with the Marvel series, bringing like the WandaVision, and I just started watching Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm about 3 episodes in. It's like a long movie now, so it's not 2.5 hours of comic book shit just shoved in your face. It's more like a comic book. When you used to read comic books, you would read the comic book and you'd have to wait for the next one to come out. And it gives it more of a comic book feel. And I think that the Obi-Wan series is, I think there's only going to be 1 season, but it's basically just going to be like a mini series, kind of like.
This is where all those superhero shows and such like that mess it up for me, is because I was a big fan of comics growing up, but the thing that was always great about comics is you got more of the character than you did of people you didn't care about, like the detectives, whoever were the side characters in said comic. A lot of the superhero TV shows give you too much of these side characters that you don't want to fucking see. You want to see the superheroes and the people directly related to them, not like, the superhero's fucking lawyer or his best friend and all this other nonsense.
That's what the TV shows.
No, Greg, that was Daredevil, so it had to focus on the superheroes.
Now, Daredevil was the lawyer.
Yeah, he was the lawyer.
Well, these are different than the Netflix shows. I've watched those Netflix shows. They're kind of tough to get into, but like WandaVision, I think, was like 8 episodes, and it was pretty much just about Wanda Maximoff and Vision. And yes, there was side characters, but it gave it more that comic book feel of you're like reading a comic, waiting till the next episode of that comic came out.
I have heard good things about it,
and
they
give it enough,
and
it gives it enough. And dude, like WandaVision, when the first 2 episodes you're watching and you're like, what the fuck is this? But you're like, but it's Marvel and there's something up and they're going to twist it in some way. And then like, after like, once you get past episode 3, you're like, oh, okay. And then you're all the way in, except I didn't really like the way it ended. it kind of had a lackluster ending, but
Well,
I still
I'm
like
hoping.
it. I still think it does. It's helping. It's help because I can see your opinion on the movies and how it's just like so many and it gets old after a while, and this kind of gives it a new feel to me, anyways.
So, like, this Obi-Wan series, I hope, is it going to be like post after
It's post Revenge of the Sith.
post Revenge of the Sith? Okay, that could be good because it might show like what he did in isolation and such, which is what
And
everyone's
they're
always
bringing
wondered
back-
anyway.
They're bringing Obi-Wan is going to be played by Ewan McGregor. Of
Oh,
course.
to see that now I'm on board.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yes,
And Christian Haydenson, is that his name?
Yeah, Hayden.
Yeah,
Hayden Christensen.
Christian
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen. I'm drunk.
You know, Lawrence. You know, Lawrence. Me and you always talk about this whenever we're out DoorDash and like no one everyone. You know, Anakin got a lot of hate. Hayden Christensen did for playing Anakin. For playing Anakin the way he did. Like they hated the dialogue. Everyone bitches about the dialogue.
The dialogue's bad sometimes. And
It's not though. Like if you say everything that he says, it sounds just like how Vader would say it.
It's how Vader talks. It's his voice. It's like everything Vader would have said. It's just not James Earl Jones, so it sounds stupid. But Vader always
another
said,
whiny Skywalker. So.
Like for an example, the thing me and Lawrence always repeat all the time is like that scene towards the end of Revenge of the Sith, right before they get into the battle, and he's like, "You turned her against me." But that's how Vader would say it. That's how he would sound when he said it.
"This is all your fault."
That's how Vader talked.
No, the best one is just like, if you're not with me, you're my enemy. Like,
yeah.
Wait, who the hell
But
talks
that's how
like
Vader
that?
would say
but
it.
That's how Vader would say it. He wouldn't say, I mean,
If
just
you're
go back
not
to the
with me or
original.
against me, he would say it in a different way.
Well, when you watch it, like when I was watching it with my daughter, she's like, she thought a lot of the lines and stuff were cheesy, and the way they were delivered was cheesy. And I can kind of see it now because, like, when I watched them, like I told you, those are my favorite Star Wars movies. So I had a biased opinion, but when you watch them again after a long time, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of can see where people had an issue with this and that, but at the end of the day, they're classics.
I mean those.
You could say it's cheesy across the board, though. If you
That's Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. I mean,
that's its charm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those prequel trilogies made Obi-Wan my favorite character. I mean, I was all about Luke, but the way they did Obi-Wan is like he is the baddest Jedi.
Well, Ewan McGregor really shines through because people for the longest time said Alec Guinness is the only Obi-Wan. No one can outdo Alec Guinness. Ewan McGregor for me does that. He's my Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan. I think Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, I'll back Greg up on that. I know he was a big Obi-Wan fan then because I think he drank about 40 12-packs of Mountain Dew with Obi-Wan on them.
Had to get them all, man. I wanted all the guys. Every can. Well, I think Lawrence, you got anything else you want to add on the Star Wars discussion?
You remember how they acted like animals, so he slaughtered them like animals?
Yeah.
One of the best lines of dialogue.
How did he say it? He's like,
so how do you guys feel about the direction now?
We're talking about Favreau and Filoni, or we're talking the sequels?
Yeah, I'm talking because Filoni and Favreau have pretty much taken the sequels that everybody hates.
I like what I'm seeing because what Favreau's doing and what they're doing with the Mandalorian is they're capturing that dirty and grittiness that Star Wars is, because that's actually what you want to see.
But to answer your question, Dustin, with the direction of Star Wars now, it's really a big question mark because there's like two camps. If you've been following behind the scenes of Star Wars, you have the Filoni and the Favreau camp that wants to bring Star Wars back to kind of the charm and what it was before. But then you have the Kathleen Kennedy camp that was there that wants to veer it towards more of the progressive stuff. They just released a book called The High Republic. Check that out. That's more in keeping with the sequel trilogy, like a continuation of all that. that vision. And there's two different kinds of camps going on, so you got to kind of see where it's going to go, because someone's got to lose and someone's got to win. We just don't know who, and that's why I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with these new shows and really the direction going forward.
Well,
so I don't know.
Money talks and bullshit walks, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have brought an entire new fan base into Star Wars, and I feel like they're going to go with that. They're going to go with that team opposed to the team that pushed a lot of people away from Star Wars. Because Mandalorian brought a lot of those people
That's what
back,
we think, man.
And then they brought a lot of new people in. So
that's what we hope.
Because now you have a lot of what I would call casual fans because of Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and everybody brings new people into the fold that aren't your typical Star Wars fans, which is what I was saying before. You don't have your typical nerd fans. Now you kind of you've kind of sold out to the rest of the world.
I think you definitely need to build a new fan base, because I mean the kids that were Star Wars fans as kids are 50 and 60 years old now, at the age when the first one came out. So you got to build
bitter.
You got to build a new audience too. So,
and my daughter loves Star
the beauty
Wars.
of what Favreau.
This blanket is hers. I just hang it up. I hung it up for the show, but she loves Star Wars, man. That's why I don't have a huge issue with the sequel trilogy, is because that was my opportunity to introduce my daughter into Star Wars. And so, are the movies great? Nah, they're not great movies, and
they're not canon.
I don't hate them, and they are canon. Just accept it. It'll be okay.
It's not canon.
They're canon. There's no way they can't be canon. That is a stupid argument. There's too many fucking main characters from the original movies for them to not be considered canon.
It's carbon copies of the characters from the original. It's not the real version. It's just
but there's original characters. They brought back everybody. It's canon. Is it great? No, but it's canon. Like
Lawrence,
people say,
is it canon?
And like the video games.
I'm not going to get into that.
Canon. That can be more not canon because it's not related to anything original Star Wars. But the sequel trilogies are directly correlated with the original movies, so you can't say they're not canon.
Me and you have said if it's not George Lucas, it's not canon, right? Like if it's not George Lucas or George Lucas approved, or George Lucas approved. And I mean, Lucas has not been secretive that he doesn't really approve of this new trilogy.
Let me go ahead with this. It's a tragedy, not really, because George made a lot of money off this sale. But when George did this, he did not realize what they were going to do. He had no clue that this was going to be the ending of it. This just doesn't have a lot of what he would have done with Star Wars. He even said it himself. He's like, when I did Star Wars, there was always a concerted effort to bring something new to it all the time. There would not have been X-Wings still like they have now. We've only seen nothing but X-Wings. There would have been a new Jedi Starfighter. There would have been new enemies, all kinds of new ships, stuff we would be talking about now.
And that's where my argument
think of the
basis
prequels,
from.
and everything was new. Like, yeah, the droidicas. I mean, it just goes on and on with what George was coming up with. And had he been allowed to continue, I guarantee you we would have had a lot more stuff.
And Lucas has not been quiet, man.
Lucas, except the yellow jumpsuit.
Lucas has come out and said that he does not really give his stamp of approval to these new movies.
But
and his stamp of approval means
they still go with the story, so they're canon. How can they not be canon?
So do some of the books, but
they're directly
not canon.
Correlated. It's an opinion, though. To say it's not canon is retarded.
Uh-oh.
Sorry for using the R word, but it's dumb. To say it's not canon is just stupid.
I disagree. I think it depends on.
What do you think, Corey? You're being real quiet over there.
I mean, to me, they're canon because they've got the Roman numeral behind them. So
exactly. Thank you.
I guess
they're canon. You just have to accept it. Is it not great? It's not great.
Yeah. Like you said, they're trash, but they're there.
They're
it's
canon. A blip. It's a blip. To me,
Can I
If
just
they-
pretend they don't exist?
If
You're gonna have to.
If what Lawrence was saying, there's a power struggle. If the power struggle comes out on the right end, I think Star Wars will be okay.
Yeah, Dustin's right.
I hope
absolutely.
so.
And honestly, they don't need to make another trilogy. Movies are dying. Just keep coming with these series on Disney Plus and all these other streaming platforms. Like, I love the 2 Marvel series that I've watched. I love them more than 75% of the movies.
Keeping with what you said though, Dustin, we don't have to worry about making the trilogies and stuff like that. The thing with Star Wars is that the episodes, even as good as Rogue One was, the episodes are kind of like the Super Bowl of Star Wars. That's where it originates. When you hear that fanfare from the beginning and the letters go across the screen and it tells you the story of Star Wars, like the episode so and so, there's a special feeling. People cheered when they saw episode 3. I went in theaters, and I remember whenever it finally came on, and then the words were going across the screen, the music, people stood up out of their chairs and were cheering for this as if, I don't know, someone like Caesar was in the room or something.
Me and Greg were there at midnight to watch that movie.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, that's what Star Wars was. That's what it is at its height, and what it brought to a lot of people that were fans of the series, and what the episodes in particular do. You can have the Clone Wars TV shows, all that stuff. That's fine, but the episodes are where Star Wars kind of lives. That's its home, kind of comics for superheroes, what have you.
The problem is though that movie theater movies it's dying. It's gonna be.
I don't want that to happen though, because I
think it's adapting. I don't think it's dying.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
While I have grown to more enjoy watching a movie at home than I do going to the theater, there's still nothing like that theater experience. And some stuff just needs to be on that big screen, man.
I agree.
It has that big crowd and such like that. I don't want that to die off, because then it's just, it like kills the thrill.
That's what's going to happen. I think eventually, with all this streaming, and now you can watch. I mean, HBO Max, you can watch any movie that's going into the movie theater.
Movie theaters are definitely dying. Movie theaters.
What was you saying, Corey?
Movies themselves will still be here.
What I was going to say is, I think you're going to see more of like a boutique type of like Amazon or Alamo Drafthouse type theater, where there's a mix of like blockbuster new movies and like old classics, and that'll be kind of your theater experience from now on.
Honestly, that's kind of what they're doing. That's what they've been doing since COVID, is kind of putting it, especially when they had no new movies to release and they were opening the theaters back up. They were just basically putting really old classic movies back in the theaters to try to bring people back in.
Yeah.
What I do like is I like the idea that you can basically rent a movie theater like to yourself now for pretty cheap to watch a movie. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That won't last long though, because just like traveling right now is so cheap. Like, I went to Washington recently and it was half the price it would usually be. And it's all that's going to die off soon when this COVID stuff starts to fade off.
I noticed you changed from when to as.
I mean, it is. It has started to fade off. So,
yeah, Greg. The first time somebody rents a theater to watch porn in is when it's going to go downhill. They're just going to ban it outright. So it's like, can I rent this theater out? What are you trying to watch?
That is a very, very sad man.
Do I have to tell you what I'm watching? Or
they already got those.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you come out in 5 minutes?
I'm good.
Just 30 more minutes, please.
All right.
They start making challenges of it. See if you can sit in each chair before you bust a load at the end. Try to time it out. 30 seconds in each.
This is taking a dark turn.
Yes, it has.
Where are we going with this, guys?
Said all things Star Wars, and we go into porn and jacking off. Lovely.
I think the future is hopeful, though. That as Star Wars goes.
Any of you guys like 3D? Was that like a big thing for any of y'all?
Nah.
Remember that was like the future? It was like 3D.
I tell you what, though, I actually bought a new projector. I've been doing, like last year, I started doing movies out in my backyard. And I got a new projector that's like a 4K this year that does 3D too. And I bought the Force Awakens. It was cheap, the 3D Blu-ray. So I may check it out back there this summer. But
When I come up there to visit in June, I may have to come over there and check that out.
yeah, for sure.
But I think that's gonna about do it for us. Anything anyone wanted to add before we jump off here?
One last thing I'll say is, I was, as you know, Greg, I was a huge Star Wars fan back in the day, and they really kind of killed me with these last 3 movies. And so now, unfortunately, I'll probably only be just a casual fan from here out. So,
Have you watched Mandalorian, Corey?
I did watch it. It was good.
Like it?
It was good, but I'm just so burnt on those last 3 movies that I was like, oh, this is good, but where's it gonna fuck up again?
You're waiting for the disappointment. That's the problem now.
Well, I think as long as they stick with, that's why they've messed up with the sequels, is going in like I said, they went in a completely opposite direction and they just completely fucked the whole thing up. But it's Corey, just a testament to lazy Hollywood. It's just how it is now, man.
But Corey, do you think that, not to cut you off, Dustin, but Corey, do you think that if the episodes were good, but maybe The Mandalorian or these side shows sucked, you would still be that supreme Star Wars fan like you were before? Like if the episodes had been solid, that's where it mattered the most. And anything else is kind of...
I think I probably would, because I'm more a movie guy than a TV show guy. Not that I don't watch TV shows, but I like to just set aside like 2 hours or whatever to get some content in, and not like binge watching 10 hours or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I'm not a binge watcher. I don't like to binge watch.
But I like that some of these streaming platforms, that they only release 1 episode at a time. Like it gives it that feel of, and now the production quality of like, remember when things would go like, do you guys remember the Terminator TV series?
I do. I actually liked it.
I do. I remember that.
But the production value was not movie value. But now the production value of most of these shows, especially on the streaming platforms, is movie value. So it's
definitely improved. I agree.
It's gotten better to me, and that's why I'm more. I mean, I waited to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier so that I could binge it more, because sometimes I don't have time to wait, and so this way I can just get through the whole thing, especially with it only being 6 episodes. But I get I like the TV watching now.
Yeah, I mean, it's way different than it used to be. I mean, I used to like just lose interest if I had to like, here's an episode, I'll come back the next week. I just didn't have.
And old TV stuff was like, especially if it was adapted from a movie, it was awful. They had like secondhand characters, and the production value wasn't as low. And now they're bringing back people from the movies, like this Obi-Wan series is going to have Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, and
I'm definitely excited to check that out too.
So,
for sure.
Well, I do think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, gentlemen. Lawrence and me will be coming back next week with the second part of the Hot to Hottest Wing Challenge. I think we're going to do Buffalo Wild Wings this time. And Corey, you said you're going to join us on that one, huh?
Yeah, if you get me the info on the sauces in time, I'll go grab the sauces.
Yeah, I'll get that to you probably here in a couple days.
What about Dustin?
Were you going to partake
Dustin's
this time?
not sick.
I might actually do that. I like Buffalo Wild Wings, so
that'd be interesting. Also,
I might not make it very far through the challenge, but
I feel like I have an unfair advantage, but whatever.
Yeah, you do with that pepper challenge, man. Definitely. Also, I have been streaming a lot of Ghost of Tsushima on Twitch. I also uploaded to the Slackercast page there, so anyone who's a gamer can check that out. It's a pretty cool looking game. Corey, what do you have coming up on S'mores Indoors?
I don't know exactly what we've got coming up. Have some issues with my co-host. I won't go into it too deep, but you can check it out on his page. He did a video tonight. Some stuff going on in his life, so kind of retool and figure out what we got coming up. But we might try to do something, or I might try to do something this weekend at some point. So we'll see.
Yeah, I might try to jump in on you on some late night streams too if you're still
Yeah.
on when I get off work and such. So
Yeah.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up.
Greg, are you interested in getting your ass kicked on a stream at some point?
Possibly. We'll talk further about that. But just want to thank everyone for listening. Definitely click that like and subscribe button if you like what you're hearing. Go over there, click that like and subscribe button to S'mores Indoors also. We get a lot of influence from them per se on what we do on this podcast. That's kind of what motivated us to do the wing challenge. But Lawrence, I'll let you send us out of here, man.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. So until next time,
Slack
slack
off.
off.